Hey people, as you probably know, I just love teaching. I have taught beginners, intermediate players, and even some professional musicians, and I'm coaching professional musicians until today, but I still think that teaching beginners is one of the hardest things to do. To build the skills from the ground up and to keep motivating the students. And if you know what I'm talking about, if you teach in some area, sports, music, yoga, whatever, maybe you know that it's very hard to motivate people. And this is why I have the single most powerful tip for you today. But before I just give it to you, I want to give some context so my tip will fall on fertile ground. One of the most important factors in motivating people and yourself is respect. You have to respect yourself to do the work you do, to do it well. Maybe you know the sentence, I don't know who said it first. Who is the person you look up to the most? Me in 10 years. This way you have a future projection of yourself and you say to yourself, I have to work today just like the person I will be in 10 years. So you already work like the person you want to become. And that's a great motivation, this future projection. I always say you make the canvas much bigger so you can get a bigger picture on it. Okay, how does this apply to our students? Let me just give you a short anecdote first. As you know, I work a lot for the Modern Music School and I just love this franchise because here love for music is taught and the teachers are taught. Because how can a student respect a teacher who is not growing and learning himself or herself? This is why several times a year I visit seminars where 20 to 30 music teachers come together and learn about teaching and learning. And what happens often on the seminars is that we teach ourselves. So we take turns teaching ourselves our instruments or even other instruments. Once when we did this, I realized that I was under big pressure because I was teaching my colleagues and they have very high standards probably. And they will give me feedback on the lesson. I want to present the best possible lesson for them. And I like this pressure because, I respect my students and I want to give them the best possible lesson. So how can I transfer this feeling from this teaching my colleagues to my usual lessons? So here it is. I combine this teaching my colleagues and this future projection, this respect, and I say to you, respect your students like the people they will become. Your colleagues. So your students are your future colleagues. If you go into the lesson with this idea in mind, you will have very high standards for your lesson and you will do whatever it takes to get your students on that level. Of course, you don't have to force them. Maybe they don't share this future view, but you have a bigger canvas. You leave the space for the student. It's your job to motivate the students to want to become the person you see in them. You see their potential and you have to get your students to see it as well. That's the biggest challenge. But if you make the canvas very big, your future colleagues, your students are your future colleagues, you leave the space for the students to blossom. And you will teach your students with the same high standards, just like you would teach your colleagues today. So this is how you can get yourself to respect your students and get your students to respect themselves. Because if you treat your students with this kind of respect, they will feel like they're being taken seriously. And so they respect themselves. I've learned this idea of respect from a great colleague of mine, a drum teacher whom I visited, and I watched his lesson for one day, and his presence was such of trust and respect that the students learned by themselves. was amazing. Sometimes he didn't say a word for half an hour, and the students in the group, they talked to each other, and they were making the plan for the lesson, and they just practiced on their own without the teacher giving his input. Of course, he was watching closely, and sometimes he was giving tips here and there, but he wasn't guiding the lesson. He wasn't forcing a structure on the students because of his presence, because of this base level of respect. And that was just amazing. So this respect is one of the most important factors for learning to take place at all. So now I hope you have this one powerful tool available. Please tell me in the comments about your experiences. And if you like this approach, this kind of approach on music and learning, please hit subscribe and activate the little bell symbol so you get a notification when there are new videos. And I will see you in the next episode. Bye.